वाईफाई नहीं ना है भाई ऑन, एक बार देख लेना तो।
बाहर ही निकाला हुआ सब।
नहीं, अजीत सब फोन किए थे।
हाँ, बाहर ही निकाला हुआ।
अभी नहीं।
इन्वर्टर से वायरस खींचा हुआ तो कहाँ से आएगा?
Good afternoon, ma'am. Nita, ma'am.
Yeah, good afternoon, Moa.
Yeah, perfect, ma'am. We can see your video and your voice is also perfect. Thank you.
I can also hear you perfectly, so I'll continue to remain logged in. I don't want to
Yes,
get
ma'am. Yeah, in next 5 minutes, we will start.
So I see the timing is 3:30 to 5:20. Is
Yes,
that
ma'am.
so? So we can give the panelists 20 minutes each because there are four of them.
Yeah.
That means 80 minutes. We have a total of 110 minutes.
Yes,
So,
ma'am.
and then we can all the introductions and things will take another 10 minutes or so, and then some question answers. That should see us through.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Vinay.
Hi, Mawa. Yeah, Vinay here.
Good afternoon. So just wanted to check your mic and as also your video once.
Just a second. Let me switch on my video. Are you able to see me? Okay. Is the webcam? No, just a sec.
Not yet.
Give me a minute, Mawa. Let me check.
Fine. That's fine, Vinay sir. I can see you fine.
Yeah, you can hear me also, right?
Yes, yes. Perfect. Perfect.
Okay. How are you doing, Mawa? All well?
Yeah, all well. Thank you. Where are now?
Okay.
Which place?
I'm in Nairobi. I'm in Nairobi.
Nairobi. Okay.
Yes.
New challenges of COVID there.
It's the same. It's lockdown, so everything is virtual. This is one issue where the world is united.
But did they have Ebola also in Nairobi? No, not much.
No, no. So the Ebola was there in DRC Congo. Yeah. Okay. Take care. Bye bye.
Thank you. Welcome again to the first technical session of the webinar, and this session is on community institutions to scale up support for the ultra poor. We have in the panel with us Srimati Neeta Kejriwal, who is the Joint Secretary, Ministry of Rural Development, Government of India. We have Srimati Gayatri Acharya, who is the lead economist, agriculture and food global practice, World Bank. Shri Vinay Kumar Vutukuru, he is a senior agriculture economist in World Bank. We have Srimati Alka Upadhyay, who is the additional secretary, Ministry of Rural Development, Government of India. And we have Shri Chandrasekhar Ghosh, who is the mentor and founder of Bandhan. The entire session would be moderated by Srimati Neeta Kejriwal. Srimati Neeta Kejriwal is a Joint Secretary in Government of India and she belongs to the Central Secretariat Service. She has put in more than 25 years of service in various capacities in different ministries of Government of India. Most of her work has been in ministries dealing with the social sector, where she has dealt with national level programs like the National Tuberculosis Control Program and National Leprosy Elimination Program, and also dealt with administration of the Drugs and Cosmetic Act and the Prevention of Food Adulteration Act. For the last more than 10 years, she has been working with the Ministry of Rural Development and has been associated with the design and implementation of Deen Dayal Antyodaya Yojana, which is the National Rural Livelihood Mission from its inception. May I request Nita Kejriwal ma'am to please moderate this session?
Thank you, Mahua. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this session. I will just take 2 minutes to set the context, and then we'll straight away go into discussions. As you all know, Ministry of Rural Development has been implementing the National Rural Livelihood Mission, and the aim here is to bring out every rural poor family out of poverty. And this we do by organizing one woman from each household into their own institutions, the self-help groups and their federations. And then we provide a large number of services so that their income enhancement is ensured, and then they can be brought out of poverty. But despite a lot of social inclusion strategies that all the states have been adopting, we find that the poor of poor, the ultra poor households somehow are left outside the coverage. They are not even able to become a part of the self-help group network for various reasons. So to address this kind of a gap, Government of Bihar has initiated in 2018 this Satat Jiviko Parjan Yojana. And the idea here is to identify about 100,000 ultra poor families in the state, and then in a very focused manner work with them through dedicated manpower to bring them out of poverty, providing a range of services for their livelihoods diversification, including things like asset transfer, their capacity building, health, education related services. So a whole range of services to be provided so that they are able to come out of poverty to an extent at least where they can be then integrated with the mainstream institutions, the self-help group network. So this whole approach is based on the graduation approach about which there was a lot of discussion probably in the first session today. And this program is being implemented in support partnership with JPAL, with Bandhan, and co-impact by the government of Bihar. So today in this session, what we are going to discuss is what role can the community institutions that have been promoted by JEEViKA, what role can they play in the scale up of the support to the ultra poor households? So we have, as Mahua has already mentioned, a very esteemed speakers today who have a lot of experience in rural development and poverty eradication. And I will introduce them further as I invite them to speak. So the first speaker today is Srimati Gayatri Acharya. She is the lead economist, agriculture and food global practice in the World Bank. So she has a lot of experience and has worked all across the globe in Africa, Latin America, East and Southeast Asia, poverty, agriculture, rural livelihoods, and natural resource management. Gayatri has also studied almost across the world. She has a BA in economics from Massachusetts, Master of Science in Natural Resource Management from Thailand Asian Institute of Technology, and a doctorate in environmental economics from University of York, England. Gayatri has been very closely attached with the National Rural Economic Transformation Project under the National Rural Livelihoods Mission, and she's also been associated with the Bihar government's World Bank supported project BTDP. So, Gayatri, welcome to this session. And what I would like to ask you is, under NRETP, we are also trying to focus on strengthening the federations of the institutions. We're setting up these model cluster level federations, etc. So, could you talk on what kind of role do you see the community institutions can play in scaling up this intervention of government of Bihar, and also how does it gel with our strategies under NRETP for strengthening the federations of the SDGs? So over to you, Gayatri.
Thank you very much, Neeta. Very glad to be part of this discussion. I have a small presentation. I'm not sure if the organizers can run it. If not, I'll just speak. Just let me know. Okay, great. Okay, so I'll just speak to this, and I'll also talk to your question, Neeta, which is a very important question, because essentially what we're looking for is a vehicle by which the scaling up of programs such as the ultra-poor graduation model can be done in a way that allows us to reach many more people faster, and hopefully, as Professor Banerjee was saying this morning, with durable positive effects. So effects that will last a very long time and fundamentally change the way in which generations will be able to make a living and have more social mobility. We'll move to the next slide, please. I just wanted to give you an idea of why, before I get to the question of how, give you an idea of why we, in particular the World Bank is so keen on learning from Bihar, from NRLM, from any of the other states, because just within India itself, we have investments across so many states. And if any of these programs can produce learning, good examples, good ways in which that scalability can be reached, then we feel that it is possible then to influence a much larger program. And this is of course beyond India as well, but I show you this just by way of an example. The type of next slide, please. The type of learning that is coming out of the NRLM already, as you know, Neeta, better than I do, but one of the areas that we feel is very, very important in our partnership with the government on the NRLM is, in fact, the ability to support inclusive programs. And as you say, the institutional platform that NRLM has over many, many years created is extremely large, and it is, in fact, very inclusive. We have a good track record across many states of SAST members being included in self-help groups. This in itself is a very good achievement. But next slide, please. As you say, also, there will be those households that are left out. But what this scale brings us is the ability to take these platforms that have been created, these community platforms, that can then be used more effectively to bring new programs, new methodologies, new approaches to help households who are both poor as well as those who are ultra poor to be able to benefit in a meaningful and impactful manner over a period of time. So the fact that these platforms have already been created and are fairly effective, like I said earlier, they are inclusive. They are, in fact, bringing in, as this slide shows you, bringing in good targeting and convergence vis-a-vis other programs. Just within Bihar, in this recent period, 1 million new beneficiaries were identified for inclusion in PDS as a response to the COVID impact and the expectation that food insecurity was going to increase. That I believe was done over a period of 7 days, and this is really only possible because of the platforms that are already there, the community organizations that are already there and functioning. Similarly, we saw across the states quite a remarkable response in terms of services that were delivered by SAGs, for SAGs, in all sorts of ways. And a lot of it was self-driven innovations that we saw, say, for example, in the marketing of perishables, which was an agriculture sector that it was a part of the agriculture sector that was so very impacted due to the economic lockdown. And there we saw considerable innovation that SAGs and their communities were participating in. So this showed that scale was delivering beyond perhaps what we imagined it could do. Next slide, please. The scale also brings, what Professor Banerjee was talking about this morning, which is these durable positive effects. Now, we hope they are durable. It is still early days yet, and we hope they will continue to show the results that are coming up now. But a recent evaluation of the NRLP suggests that not only is there an increase in the gain in savings of 28% across these households, incomes also increased by 19% across the household, and there was an increase in the access to loans for specifically women from SAST households, which was again part of that inclusion agenda that the program was set up to achieve. There has also been an increase in the additional sources of income. Now, this is very interesting because this work was done prior to the COVID lockdown, and it's quite important for us to obviously see whether these things were durable. They are positive, but are they durable? Now, that's a big question, and we are still trying to understand that fully. Next slide, please. But what we do, so therefore what we see, in fact, from early results is that there is a sliding backwards. It's expected, the entire economy has been impacted, the world has been impacted. There is a sliding backwards that is seen in these communities as well. There is continuing vulnerability in some of these, the households that the programs were trying to reach due to these unexpected events and the complete lack of preparedness in some cases, although in many cases there was better planning, there was some insurance schemes, etc. Now, why am I pointing this out? Because I think that these challenges require multiple strategies. We need different ways in which we can address different vulnerabilities. They're not the same groups, they're not the same communities, they're not homogeneous across India. The approaches that NRLM uses is the fundamental approach of setting up the communities and setting up the self-help groups allows, therefore, for us to come in and use those institutions and deliver what might be better targeted support systems and improved ways in which to capture those households that consistently fall through safety nets. These people, these households who consistently disappear somehow and they're not being included in various types of accounting because they are basically households that suffer from multiple problems or barriers and therefore require a very different type of approach to be able to reach them and help them through these their difficulties. However, the fact that these communities are already set up means that not only can we try and help regain the losses that have occurred during this period to build back the resilience, reduce the vulnerability in general terms, but we also have the opportunity to identify the specific requirements of communities that were most impacted. Next slide, please. So essentially, just to indicate that, as you have also mentioned earlier, Nita, that while the program currently, reaches this middle fairly effectively, We have a high rate of participation. We see a lot of reasonable outcomes already, and there is in principle a roadmap that we can identify. That yes, there has to be a deepening of capacity, has to be a deepening of livelihood options, etc. for that large middle. But it's the sort of the first tail, the initial tail of this curve, where it is extremely tough, and that's what this ultra poor program is attempting to reach. Now, here, while there are multiple challenges, again, the fact is that the evaluations so far have indeed shown, that they are being missed, right? So this itself is an important finding, so that it motivates us to then put in the effort to work harder at that initial tail. Next slide, please. So, given that specialized strategies are needed, we do think that these approaches of having the community platform and the specialized strategies at various ends, I failed to mention that there are many households who would like to not be in the middle anymore, would like to transition even out of that. And they do require different strategies. Essentially, intergenerational mobility is what human beings strive for. We want each generation to be better off than the previous generation. And so we should expect that aspirations of households over time will change. And so we want ultra poor to become poor, as Professor Banerjee was saying, but then obviously we want the poor to not be poor. So this is a continuous agenda. And my colleague Vinay will speak more on this point in a little while. Next slide, please. Right. So essentially, to conclude, then we've got, we'd like. We learn a lot from JEEViKA. So everything, JEEViKA really has been a trailblazer in many ways, and the Ultra Poor program is another one of those areas where I think not just the NRLM will learn from, but the bank will learn from it as an institution as well, to be able to have more of a global outreach of how these programs would work at scale. This is really the most remarkable aspect of JEEViKA's efforts and the NRLM's effort, is working at scale. But the level of high quality technical assistance is absolutely critical. The fact that the village organizations are very essential to how this program is delivered should also make us pause and think about the way in which these institutions will continue to be supported as we move ahead. The village organizations and subsequent federations are not an end unto themselves. They have to deliver services. They have to be accountable. They have to have governance structures that allow communities to demand different things from them, because they are their own structures. They are their own institutions. And subsequently, they will have to evolve as the changes of the community, as the needs of the community also evolve. So for us, I think, to see these federations, these institutions, as delivering critical services and being very relevant for every period of time that we are operating in is very important. So post-COVID, or currently, let's say, within COVID period, we will have to think about what is the role of these organizations and how they can continue to deliver the types of services that are critical, without compromising on rigor, without compromising on quality, without compromising on the inclusion agenda. And this, of course, means that it's a very large program of support. It means that we have to be very innovative in how we crowd in financing, how we converge with government programs, how we really look to ensure that all safety net aspects of the program are part of the design, so that there is no falling out, there is no falling back under the poverty line once households have managed to overcome that. This will require all of us to be in a constant learning mode, and of course the institutions that have been built so um, with so much patience and so much effort over time have to continue to evolve, have to continue to be relevant as we move through this program. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gayatri. So yeah, I completely agree with you. Jeevika has been a trailblazer in many respects, and we really are looking forward to the impact of this program also, to see how we can take it forward to other states also. You have mentioned that we, since we already have this fairly effective platform already created, and particularly looking at the response that they've been able to give in this unprecedented situation of COVID, they provide a kind of potential for being able to support the scale up of this program, and in a very effective manner, and they can play a role at every stage: identification, hand holding, monitoring kind of support, and particularly in situations where there are such unprecedented situations where there is a possibility of falling back into poverty. So we have these effective platforms. So thank you very much, Gayatri, for your inputs. I will now request Mr. Vinay Butukuru. Mr. Vinay Kumar Butukuru, he is a senior agriculture economist at the World Bank, currently based out of Nairobi in Kenya, and he anchors the agriculture portfolio of the World Bank in Kenya. Previously, he has worked in South Asia region on agriculture and rural development. He has been very closely associated with JEEViKA for 10 years when he was working as a World Bank representative, and I had very close interaction right from that period with Vinay, and he's been very invested in the JEEViKA program right from the beginning. He had started work with AKRSP, and then he moved on to the bank. Vinay is an alumnus of Indian Institute of Management, Ahmedabad, and he also has a graduate degree in public administration in international development from Harvard University. So Vinay has also been the co-detail for the World Bank for our earlier for the NRLP project, the National Rural Livelihood Project, and subsequently also worked with the NRETP. So he's had a very long association with JEEViKA and with NRLM. So Vinay, it's really great to see you, and thank you for joining from Nairobi. So I would like to ask you, why do you think that this is this SJY initiative is such a unique initiative, and how it can leverage the community institutions for successfully implementing the graduation approach, and also what is your advice on what would be the key elements for its success, and how JEEViKA should go forward in implementing those. So over to you, Vinay.
Thank you, Neeta, and firstly, wonderful to see you again after a long time. And I think, firstly, I would say that I'm really excited. I consider myself to be part of the JEEViKA family. So really glad that I'm part of this panel, and also it's a proud moment that a Nobel laureate actually was a keynote speaker today. So again, as a member of the JEEViKA family, proud moment for me, and many congratulations to the entire JEEViKA team, very ably led by Bala. And I think personally, I've learned so much from JEEViKA. So in that sense, this is an opportunity for me to just share my learning, which I've learned from this tremendous network of very courageous women, which is now more than 10 million. So as you asked, Neeta, I think I will structure my talk into three portions. One, I think very quickly reflect on why this is unique and how this is different from other graduation approaches which have been undertaken across the world. It's happened in Bangladesh, in Africa, and other regions of the world. Second is to really zoom in on what I feel are the key elements of success. And thirdly, I'll speak a bit and more. It's my suggestions on what should JEEViKA do to make sure that this works well over the next 2-3 years. So why is this unique? Because I think this is unique for two reasons. One, I think this is the first time that the graduation approach has always been tried out by external professional agencies, and rightly so, because it was thought that you need a lot of efficiency and targeting for this to work. So this is the first time that at such a scale, government and a community driven model is trying it. So there are global lessons for this, because again, I believe that this model is much more cost effective and is sustainable, because if this works, it can really be scaled up more organically and quickly across the world. So that's why it's unique. Second, for JEEViKA, I think it's come at the right time, because again, having interacted with JEEViKA institutions, it's like a next level of challenge for the community institutions, that how can they make inclusion work? And as Gayatri rightly said, all these, the entire SHG model always has two elements to it. What I call the growth element, which is how do we take a Didi who's earning 5,000 to become a 15,000 earning Didi, because then she can give 5 more jobs. But it's equally important for us to get a Didi up who's earning 500 rupees a month, to get her to earn 5,000 rupees a month. And constantly, there's a I would say a fight for space across these two agendas. So I'm so glad that the inclusion agenda has become so central. So for JEEViKA also, it's a very, very important thing. So that's why I think this is a very, very unique program. Now, what are the elements of success? In my view, first is what is really critical is going to be the role of the village organizations and the role of the master resource persons, because these two will make the entire implementation that much more nimble and that much more community driven. And they will bring the flavor of what is working, what is not working, and those signals need to be picked up. So how do you centrally bring in the village organizations and the master resource persons into the implementation at every level is very, very important. The second, I think, is efficiency, because this is, when it comes to the ultra poor, we somehow do not have any space for lenience in terms of, we can't slip by a couple of months. Those monthly payments have to happen month after month on the time. Otherwise, the program loses its efficiency. And inherently a community-driven model, and not just JEEViKA, I can say world over, models which are community-driven are very organic in nature. So therefore, bringing in efficiency in such an organic, community-driven model is always a challenge. So that is going to be very critical. How we marry this element of being organic, community-driven, but when it comes to the ultra-poor, it has to be efficient. First of every month, that amount has to reach the ultra-poor. So that's going to be the second key element which will determine success. The third, according to me, is the basket of options which you can create in terms of the livelihoods. And it has to be customized. I mean, within Bihar, if you look at it, Saharsa will require a different basket of options from a Nalanda. A Begusarai will be very different from, say, a Kishanganj. A Supal will be very different. And Aurangabad will be very different. So how do you customize the livelihood options? How do you provide a larger basket of options for the ultra poor is going to be very, very important. So I think these three, according to me, will determine how successful this initiative will be. Now, how can JEEViKA ensure that this works on the ground? And I think here I'm talking about my own personal experience of working with JEEViKA for the last 10 years. I think this is one program where JEEViKA needs to go back to its core strengths. What is the core strength of JEEViKA? What has been tried and tested? It's the communitization, if I use the word, which is that always we gave maximum emphasis on quality of the processes. That, for example, when it's mobilization of community institution, we understood very quickly and very early on that it's not professionals who are better at doing it, it's these themselves. Whether even preparation of a micro plan which preceded the CIF, it was these themselves who innovated, who came up with a faster but a better way of preparing micro plans. So I think JEEViKA needs to make sure. You can see that I'm constantly using the word we, even though I moved on to Africa. But I think that's the key, that how do we make sure that we retain that core value of communitization? So that's the number one. Number two, how did we grow and retain quality? We made sure that when we just had 50 VOs, within that 50 VOs, we identified 10 VOs as immersion VOs. Those DDs were the ones who went to every district, every block, and showed the way as to how it should be done. So within this, I would say 306 blocks which we are doing, let us identify 50 VOs which are immersion VOs. Let us make case studies out of these VOs and these MRPs as to how they've done that. That is where innovations will come from. Innovations will not come from outside or professionals like me, because we are not the ones who really battled circumstances and come out triumphant. So I think today morning I saw the video of Sarita Didi. I mean, she should be a resource person who can go and tell 100 other Didis that dekhe aisa karna hai. This is what I have done. So how do we really standardize these kind of case-based training? How do we identify immersion VOs? How do we identify within the MRPs, those set of MRPs who will show the way? So that's the first ingredient. The second ingredient is about efficiency, and that is where I think now I'm talking of organization development. I think JEEViKA needs to innovate and create a very strong vertical which has direct access to the CEO, and decisions can be made quickly. Because this can't have the same flow that, we put up the file, it takes a week, then somebody else will approve, then it goes. Unfortunately, when it comes to the ultra poor, that is where JEEViKA has to change some of its kind of business processes, let me put it this way, to be much more nimble and to take decisions faster. So I think that the key there is to create a vertical which reports directly to the CEO and which has got that kind of degrees of freedom to take quick decisions. That's the second big element of how they can do. The third is the use of MIS. I was very happy that every MRP has a mobile app, but I think I can afford to be slightly critical of JEEViKA, that one of the things that we need to work on is we generate a lot of data, but how do we then analyze this data to make mid-course corrections and really incorporate into implementation going forward? So the use of MIS, the use of data to really give us lessons is very, very, very critical. So I think that's the third kind of key element of success. And last is specifically on the livelihood side. So again, if you look at JEEViKA, I think our core strength is institutional building, financial inclusion. Those two we've done a tremendous job of standardizing and scaling up. Now, when it comes to livelihoods, again, we need to be much more humble and learn as much as possible, both within Bihar, outside India, what is working. So as I said, in terms of generating this basket of options, which is unique to each region of Bihar, I think that is where we need to be as nimble, as humble as possible and generate a huge list of options. I think these are the four, because I don't want to kind of come up with too many things because those don't get registered. I think if we can get these four right, which is, I'll repeat, a very strong vertical, which is nimble and which can directly report to the CEO, take decisions. Second is the communitization aspect. How can we find immersion MRPs, immersion VOs, develop case-based training and organically scale up. Third is MIS and data analyticals to feedback into programming. And fourth is really working on developing a large basket of options, specifically on the livelihood side. I think these four are critical for the success of this program. I'll end by saying that, inherently, one of the things that Jivika has always worked very well is on inclusion. And I recall way back in 2010, the food security program, or the food security intervention that was launched in Jivika, was born out of a simple interaction in a village organization where one of the didis said, भैया ये सब कुछ तो ठीक है, पर 5 से 6 महीना 40 दीदी हैं जो खाना स्किप कर रही हैं, जिनको खाना नहीं मिल रहा रात में. That triggered a food security intervention which started with 10 VOs, which went to 60 VOs, and today I think there are almost 10,000 village organizations working efficiently. So I just want to remind Jika that their core moral, ethical, strong foundation is that of inclusion. And so I think because we become so big, let us not forget that core value of inclusion. And again, if we can get this right, we'll become trailblazers in the world. Because if a community-driven, community institution-based graduation approach can happen in Bihar, then we are developing a model which is 10 times less expensive and which is much more sustainable. Thanks, Neeta.
Thank you, Vinay. That was really nice, very well structured, and lot of good advice for Jeevika with all the experience that you have, and that's completely showing in the kind of advice you have now given. So thank you very much, Vinay. I expect there'll be some questions also. We'll take the questions towards the end. So now I will move on to the third speaker for today, Mrs. Alika Upadhyay. She's Additional Secretary in Ministry of Rural Development, and she's handling a large number of charges here actually. She's also the Mission Director for National Rural Livelihoods Mission. She's Director General of National Rural Infrastructure Development Agency, and she's also the in charge DG at present for National Institute of Rural Development and Panchayati Raj, that is based in Hyderabad. She holds a master's degree in organic chemistry, economics, and public administration from Maxwell School, Syracuse University. She is an IS officer, of course, from Madhya Pradesh cadre, and while she has held many senior positions in the state as Secretary in Department of Finance, Environment, Personnel, Health.
Excuse me, ma'am, Alka ma'am has not yet joined, so we can take some of the questions and then move forward.
Okay, so is someone in touch with her for?
Yes, we are in touch with her, and she would be joining soon. But in between, can we take 2 questions? I have sent 2 questions to you now. In the chat box.
I cannot. I don't know where they are. I cannot see them. Could you?
Yeah.
Could you ask the question?
Yeah. One of the questions. This is to Mr. Vinay, and this is by Aditya Mohanty. Basically, he wants to get elaborated on the basket of options point. And is it not a bit of loud thinking? Can you give us 2 contrasting examples within Bihar to make your point?
Thanks, Mo. What I meant by basket of options is, say, for example, dairying. Okay, this is a very common kind of thing. But dairying will not work in a district where fodder is not freely available, right? So you need to have the enabling conditions for dairying to work. When it comes to goat rearing, there are certain districts within Bihar which have a good breed of goat and sheep. There it makes more sense to have goat and sheep working. But say in a place like Bihar Sharif in Nalanda, if the poor family resides closer to the urban center, there an enterprise makes more sense because Bihar Sharif is growing. So there are a lot of options in terms of service industry. It could be a food kind of thing. It could be other things. So there, setting up enterprise will make sense. But say if you are in Madhepura block and you're somewhere 50 kilometers from Madhepura block, to set up a food enterprise there or say any other service-based kind of activity there will not make sense. So this is what I meant by basket of options. So if an MRP goes to meet an ultra poor household in say Madhepura district, right? So the set of possible options that the MRP has when he interacts with the ultra poor will be very different from the list when say the MRP goes to Gaya. Say this is a family which is in both Gaya block, right? There the set of options are very different. So this is what I'm saying. Come up with a basket of options which are customized to different regions and different parts of Bihar. I hope I answered that question.
Thank you, Vinay. Mahua, are there any other questions?
Yes, there's one more question where a participant is asking, how is the graduation approach different in JEEViKA?
Vinay, would you like to take that?
Fundamentally, the difference is that if you look at the JEEViKA model, one of the defining characteristics right from day one was through the project, there was never a grant, because it was always that households are mobilized into self-help groups. They start saving, they start taking initial small loans, and then they kind of graduate to start taking bigger loans. I think fundamentally the difference between the graduation approach and the JEEViKA model is that graduation approach recognizes the fact that when it comes to the really poorest households, they don't even have the basic minimum cash flow to regularly save on a weekly basis and take loans. So the understanding is they do need grant support for a period of time before they reach a stage where they can start saving and they can kind of start taking credit. So that's, I would say, is the fundamental difference.
Ma'am, Alka ma'am has joined. Neeta ma'am and Alka ma'am has joined, so we can invite Alka ma'am.
Good afternoon, ma'am. So I was just introducing you to the audience today. And as I mentioned, Alka ma'am is Additional Secretary in the Ministry of Rural Development and also holding charges of Director General of National Rural Infrastructure Development Agency. She is the DG for NIRD and PR also, and of course she is the Mission Director for the National Rural Livelihoods Mission. And she is from the Madhya Pradesh cadre, and she has worked in many senior positions in the state as Secretary in Department of Finance, Environment, Personnel, Health, etc. But her seminal work has been in the rural roads area, where she has been a pioneer in the construction of rural roads using plastic waste in the state of Madhya Pradesh, and also for using remote sensing technology. Even in Ministry of Rural Development, she has worked on the Rural Roads Program, that is PMGSY, and of course currently she is heading the NRLM. So she has a wide range of experience in government, and ma'am, today, as you know, we are having a discussion on the role that community institutions can play in the scale up of the ultra poor strategy that Bihar is implementing in its Satat Jeeviko Parjan Yojana. So ma'am, I invite you to give your views on what kind of role do you think the community institutions can play in the scaling up in the sustainability of such an intervention, and also whether you see any scope in future for replicating this kind of scheme in other states also through NRLM. So over to you, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you very much, Neeta, and a very good afternoon to the entire audience over here at the outset. I must congratulate Bala and his BRLPS team for organizing this very innovative kind of a webinar in which the topic is really the need of the day. And the scheme that is being talked about is one of the many new initiatives that Bihar government has already taken. And I would just like to first and foremost talk a little bit on the context of Bihar and the work that they have been doing. So Bihar, a very backward state many years back, has now set to be a pioneer in many ways as far as a national rural livelihood mission program is concerned. And one thing which I always say, that the power of negotiation is the biggest power that you can impart to any downtrodden or poor or the weakest link in the chain. And through the National Rural Livelihood Mission, the JEEViKA program of the World Bank, and many such initiatives which have been taken in the state of Bihar for the last few years, we have seen that the women have had the upper hand in negotiating a state which is now prohibition free, or there is no liquor in this state. I think that is one of the outstanding achievements of the women of this particular state, and my biggest congratulations to the BRLPS team who were able to instill that confidence. Moving on from here, I would just like to mention a few things. So many years back, all of us heard of the great Yunus Khan and the Bangladesh Bandhan Bank experiment. And why I bring this over here? Because that was the initial phase or the initial journey of women, where it was shown that the recovery rates for any kind of credit given to women is very good. It was a success story. Yunus Khan went on to get the Nobel Prize, so on and so forth. There was a lot of appreciation for that work. Now, from that journey to the current strategy that even Bangladesh has, they talk about a graduated approach. They talk about the constant doses which need to be given to the people in the below poverty range to bring them over or bring them out of astute poverty. So we have to first and foremost understand over here that the strategy of giving one-time help or a one-time dosage is not enough. And here I would like to set the context again in terms of Manrega. So Manrega, as you all know, in the current circumstances in the pandemic situation, has been a lifesaver, and I would say one of the greatest fillets, or I would say not a great fillip, but it has helped in keeping the rural economy afloat in these very distressing times. But we need to get out of the Manrega approach. While Manrega is very good for employment in dire straits or when there is absolute essential need, but we need to, even if we are doing Manrega, we need to strategize ourselves to creating assets which would result in sustainable livelihoods. Now, if I talk about sustainable livelihoods, why is sustainable livelihood, or is one of the SDG goals? Why are we talking about it? Because sustainability comes over a period of time. It can't be just one single dose and then you move out, or you just leave the beneficiary to where he or she was. So the old paradigm of rural development philosophy or practice has now got to change. And this Satat Jeevika Porjan Yojana, which the Bihar government has now thought about, I think this is one of the most talked about strategies in the recent development economics. I am sure you had a very good session with Professor Abhijit Banerjee in the morning. I somehow missed that session, but that is the way forward, and all the countries now are moving in this direction. I would, while having established the importance of this particular direction or this particular policy initiative would have been talked about. I will now move on to the National Rural Livelihood Mission or the institutions of the poor and how they can help. So, bringing in the perspective of the National Rural Livelihood Mission, you all know very well that the National Rural Livelihood Mission is probably one of the biggest programs for women in India. And why it has become one of the biggest programs for women in India? Because it spans across the country, across all states, and although we may not, we are at about 70% of coverage as of now in terms of all blocks. We aim to move around 200% by the year 2023-24. So the biggest program for women. And not only the biggest program for women when we talk about economic strengthening, the biggest and the most important, critical, significant initiative which has been taken is taking the women out of their homes and taking the women out of their homes to be able to have a voice of their own, to be able to sit and understand what is it that takes for them to be out of, hamesha that being in that subsidized or being in that bottommost rung of the ladder. How do we climb up? So National Rural Livelihood Mission, so to say, is the biggest example of a graduated approach. And we have always followed this philosophy where we first say we will take you out of the home, we will organize you into community institutions, the self-help groups, with similarly disposed people with similar kinds of economic background. Then we have the federated structure, that is the village organization, so where stronger representation from the self-help groups goes into form the village organizations and the cluster level federations. And at each level there is capacity building which is happening. The beauty of the program lies in the fact that it is a program for the poor and by the poor, where the community resource person come from the community themselves. They are people of the same economic, socio-economic strata who speak the same language, who understand the problems, and who have moved up the ladder with a little bit of training and skilling. So that is basically the institution which is best suited to be able to communicate to the people of that area, to the women of that area. Now, having spoken of the community resource persons, I see that as the biggest social capital which is now available. And of late at the Government of India level, we are saying that there have been many initiatives with various ministries to bring in convergence, whether be it Ministry of Food Processing Industries, whether be it the ICAR, the Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Tribal Affairs, WCT, so on and so forth. So everybody is seeing these women as a social capital. So while ministries and departments do have budget, they do have schemes, but who will take their schemes to the right people in the villages, the kind of discipline which has been brought in, the kind of skill set that has been developed amongst our resource persons, community resource persons, and right up to the SNG members. So there is a lot of goodwill that is existing in the society these days, or in the government also. So we are at that stage where our goodwill should be leveraged in such a fashion that we are able to harness the resources which are all around from different ministries. Now, having spoken of this, I would also like to, at this point in time, point out to our financial inclusions, or what is it that is happening in the sphere of credit linkage. So, everybody, each one of you who's been following Government of India initiatives in the last 4-5 months would have heard about the Atmanirbhar Bharat, the Garib Kalyan Rozgar Abhiyan, and also the Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan package, all aimed at the rural areas. And all of these programs talk about one and the same thing: how to create, number one, a social security around people, for people who have been worst affected by the COVID situation at the moment. And these people who have been affected by the current pandemic situation, Government of India has gone to great lengths to one, empower them with cash transfers, to special ex gratia payment for pension holders, the old pension holders, then giving them food grains, rations, etc., so that they could tide over the initial shock of displacement from the urban areas. So all that has been done, and in this entire exercise, two things come out very, very strongly in this entire ecosystem. One is the kind of technological advancement that has been done and the technology networking that has been done. So about 2 crore, 2 point some odd crore, no, it is much more. It is about 20 crore women. Pradhan Mantri Jan Yojana, we were able to credit funds to them. We were able to credit ex gratia funds to the pension holders in just about 2-3 days or 4 days using the DBT method. So all this, number one, this has come to be of use, and we are first time seeing how the technological advancement, the digitization, the opening of the bank accounts have helped people get the benefits. So with this intervention, now we need to move towards a stage of, again, 100% inclusion, both in terms of social safety nets and to the financial inclusion bit, which is become very, very important. The second thing that we saw, that is our NRLM, I think, experience, and in which, again, I would like to appreciate the role of Bihar Rural Livelihood Promotion Society, where these women who were sitting, who had some ideal community investment funds, they thought out of the box. They just thought out of the box, and they thought, okay, so while the country and we here in Delhi were facing shortage of masks, and we were buying masks at the rate of, I don't know, 50 rupees, 100 rupees in the initial months, all of a sudden these women thought that, okay, why not we make masks? And they started making these cloth masks. Not only that, I mean, I would also say that I was beneficiary of the first lot of these beautiful Madhubani masks. And I could flaunt them in the Delhi circles and get a lot of appreciation for these Madhubani masks made by the women in Bihar. So they just thought about it, and out of this sheer small capital which was available with them, and that is one of the things, initiatives that they took. The secondly, they started making some protective wear. So while there was a shortage of caps and the shoe covers and aprons and so on and so forth, so our women stepped up, and they were able to manufacture these protective gear. So there's these huge number of success stories. Kiri in UP, I remember a young skill, he was able to negotiate and he was able to supply this protective gear to the army hospitals. All of a sudden there was a rush, there was a response. So if we have prepared our women for this, and all this has happened in a very graduated, graded manner, silent work has been done. So there was not a one-day wonder that was happening, a magic wand that we could be, but it was years of efforts that have been given, the building of capacity building, the community institutions building, that has really come up to the fore. Now, with these few experiences that we've had in the times of Corona, which was otherwise such a very, very depressing phase, I mean, still haunts us, but this was a very, very challenging times. This gives us hope. And this gives us hope that if we are able to keep investing little money, little time, and build capacity of our women folk, they are going to respond very fast. So their movement is going to be very, very fast. And so at this point in time, we have to organize them into collectives which can bargain for themselves, which can negotiate for themselves for better economic gains. And these are manifold. There are many instances. The custom mining centers, the producer organizations in Chhattisgarh, producer organizations in the Orissa, Jharkhand, they're all doing a wonderful job. Small things, just a little bit of grading and sorting that is happening at the farm gate, and they are able to get much better prices. But that is only a very incremental kind of shift in their economic earning. If we have to really move on fast, then we have to organize them now into bigger collectives. We have to we have to constantly work at creating their credit history so that this credit history comes in handy and they are able to borrow from the market. That the market as well as from the banks. Now, why I say market? So my word market is NBFCs, not only the institutional commercial banks, but also the NBFCs. So there is a hunger, there is an appetite for taking risk, for taking money on credit. And this is the entire ethos of our Atmanirbhar Abhiyan with the credit guarantee funds created by DFS, by the MSME, and so many other programs. So there is no dearth of credit right now. It is just that what kind of credit are we asking for? What is the kind of project that we are moving for? So all this will have to be built upon. The Satat Jeevika Parjan Yojana is truly a reflection on how we can take these gradual steps, how we can move forward in taking these women along at each and every stage. We have to be very careful of the selection of our beneficiaries or people who can move ahead. And my request at this point to all the contestants, all the people who are over here, is also that we should try and build like we are creating and building producer collectives at the village level. From our end, we need to push the aggregators into this ecosystem. So it's so that it should not just be us, the government's job, or the development partners' jobs to pull these people out of astute poverty. What we need to have is the aggregator approach where we are able to harness technology, harness the market intelligence, and bring it to the villages for creating these small enterprises, these small activities, business activities, which are going to, I would say, create that entire catalytic effect in the rural economy. So I think this entire approach being taken up by Bihar is a step in this direction. And what is very essential is that we need to be with our beneficiaries or with our people for a longer spell of time. It can't be just intervene and move out in 3 years' time or 2 years' time. We have to be with them for a longer time, for hand-holding activities, for giving them the confidence and giving them a platform or an ecosystem where they can survive and move on in their economic ventures. So I just had these few things because I needed to end at 4:30. I took 5 minutes of grace period because I joined a little late. I hope I'm excused for it. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, madam. That was very interesting, and you talked about how a lot of investment has already been made into the women through NRLM, particularly JEEViKA, the kind of confidence that has been instilled, and the kind of strategies that have been put in place, the social capital that has been put in place now. So all this really makes it very important for the Satat Jeevika Parjan Yojana to be integrated with the community institutions, because they'll be then after a certain level they'll be able to take all the benefits that can be accessed through these community institutions. And you pointed out to the importance of aggregating them into the livelihood collectives particularly, and long-term hand-holding. So thank you very much for your inputs, ma'am. And Now we'll move on to the last speaker for today, Mr. Chandrasekhar Ghosh, who is the Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of Bandhan Bank. And as I said initially, Bandhan Bank is one of the partners, implementation partners of SJY in Bihar. Mr. Chandrasekhar Ghosh has actually set up the Bandhan Bank somewhere in April 2001. It started as an NGO and then moved on to become an NBFC and finally into a universal bank, which was inaugurated in August 2015. Mr. Ghosh has done a lot of seminal work in financial inclusion in India. The Bandhan Bank at present has a pan-India presence and it caters to more than 2 crore customers. Mr. Ghosh has a master's degree in statistics. He also has a program, attended a program on strategic leadership in Harvard Business School, also a certificate program in IT and cyber security conducted by an institute established by RBI. Mr. Ghosh has won a large number of awards, particularly due to for his social entrepreneurship work, and he has been the former president of Bengal Chamber of Commerce and Industry, as well as associated with a large number of other committees. So he comes with a lot of experience, and of course he has worked in the past also on the graduation approach. So thank you for joining us, Mr. Ghosh, and with your experience in this approach earlier in, I think, West Bengal, etc., and now working with Bihar, we'd really like to know what are your views on the role that the community institutions can play in further scaling up and sustaining SJY kind of program. Over to you.
Thank you, madam. It's my privilege on that. I am getting the chance to speak in this forum. We are very much honored, the JEEViKA, whatever organized in this program. And whatever the program you are talking about it, as a not as a banker or not as a MD and CEO of Bandhan Bank, I was an NGO worker and I started this NGO, and I hope that in the last 20 years of my life as a MDC till now, I feel that this is the program which I've been talking here in that my best in my heart on that. And I started as a NGO, no doubt on that, in the 2001. It is the name is in Bandhan Kumar. I learned from that NGO activities in the every corner of the country. I find out from that how poor people are making their life, how they are running their life, how they are tortured by their husband on that. So that I started that organization, how we can be like to help them to the women as a self-reliant, and they will be not like to violence by the family members and the society people on that, and how they can be also created the new employment for other people on that. And we believe on that if the women are very good earner and their earning will be helped to the better of the next generation of for their education, for their health, not in a wine, not alcohol, like on that. So that is the objective I started on that. And I also believed in that time that is without the financial empowerment, the women empowerment is not possible. So that I have been forming a small group and providing a small credit, taking the money from the bank and given to them, and trying to develop their livelihood, how they can be earn the income and sustain in future. So after the couple of years, when the 2001, 2002, 3, 4, but I find out that some people till now is not yet we are touching on them. Who are those people? Some people say that they are beggars. When some other people are coming to this group to take a loan, And group people say that no, they cannot take the loan because they are very much poor, they cannot repay. Then I understand about it. There is another type of people in our society who are not only poor, who are poorest of the poor, who have been not even not reaching to the microcredit to take a loan and they can be start the livelihood on that. How I can be helped that? And I go to this some of the worst district as a economically in Bengal is called Murshidabad and Malda. And I meet the people, the large number of women we called on that, what they are like to talk about it. And they say that no, we are poor. Then I am finding out on that if you are poor, there is no other poor in this the society. Can you help them? They say that no, we have not the money, how we can help them. Then I say that if I help, can you support me? Oh, yes, you can do it in your own way. So can you give 10 rupees from you and I'll give this 50 rupees and still help them? Well, yes, sir, we can. I can just get the confidence from these people on that. And my opportunities has come, golden opportunities 2006. The World Bank, there is an arm name is a Pro Innovation Challenge Award. So they given me the award and I got the 50,000 US dollar. I said that, okay, I will be first to try how I can be helped this poorest of the poor in the Murshidabad. They will come out from the poverty. Then that time I have been introduced with a novel to Professor Vinay. And he said that I will be study on that as a randomization of that. That is the time has come, I have been started this program. Actually, this program name we have been given is a TSP, targeting the hardcore poor. So what is this meaning on that? How we like to do it on that? If you see that when we are process on that, process is rigorous on that, we are started in the survey of the village. When we survey the village, first we identify of that village who are the poorest of the poor in that villages. We called it the PRA methodology. That means the participatory rural appraisal, which is made by the Germany. And we called all the villagers and they identified who are the people in that village is the poorest of the poor. And when they identified, and then we are going to this door-to-door survey and finalize it and finding out that 3 to 5% of family in the village who are poorest of the poor. Sometimes we find out on that the village people not know that types of household have in their village, have their neighbor, and they are not in understand they are that much of the poorest position is there. Very, very challenging job is there to identify them because a lot of political fight has come on that. Someone say that this one poor, someone say that no, that one poor. Then we asking them, so can you decide who are the poorest of the poor in your village? They are identified 4 type of group. One is then very poor. Why they are very poor? They identify the criteria. And then we are taking them and make a 2 days training. 2 days training for first for confidence building. When I attended that training first time with them, so every people say that, sir, no people can understand us. We are going to our relative, they are also first time given the 10 rupees and says, go. Don't ask or talk any point on that. So they are not like to listen, not listening by the villagers, not listening by the relatives. So we are in a helpless. So then I say that I'll listen everything to you, from you, but you must be success in your life. There is a 2 years time in your hand. How? Whatever you ask, I'll give everything to you, but you will be success in your own way, and you will be the self-reliant. And then when the motivation work have been done, and they are agree on that. And third day, we have given the one training. We have selected the what types of enterprise they will be like to running. We will give the enterprise asset. And then they are decided, we given that how that enterprise will be managed by them. and managing capacity we are built up through this training. After the 3 days, we are given this asset to their villages, whatever the feasible for that household, and we are our staff every week given that to coaching them and helping them to run that business. And in this way, and we are also given that the up to the 20 weeks from the beginning, the consumption stipend, per day some of the amount for their food cost, they will be not use the money, whatever the enterprise I have given. So because if the money has come to their pocket and they feel that they are earning and their hand is with the money, their confidence building will come very quick. So that they are doing on that one. Every week my staff is motivating on that. So, and that way, after the 18 months, we say that the best enterprise they have been built up, best asset they have been created, and best income is coming on that. After 18 months, we are graduate them to come as a exit. We are exit after 24 months. So within these 24 months, there is a very hand-holding support we have given on that. I feel proud on that. When I visited to them, they are offering me the papa rice. I said, sir, papa rice taken. No, I will not take the papa rice. Thank you, you are offering me. Sir, I am not begging now. I earn my money. From that money I have been offered to you. So how much the face love, that is the biggest energy has come from their side to my side. I have been entering to another village. I have been seeing that one of the beneficiaries, and that the cooking the rice. And I am asking that who is living inside of your home? Some boy is sleeping, and she said that he is my brother's son. So he also stay with you? No, sir. When I was the poorest, nobody has come to me. Now I have the money. Now you helped me. I have coming to the little bit money is here. Now all the members is coming to me to get the help from me. So this is the type of people. So when we will be like to this is success, that is the best way we can be build up the community to contribute something on that. If you see that now, as a geographically, we are 12 states in this type of activities other than bank. I am talking about this is a totally charitable activities on that. 1 lakh family we already have been reached to cover them. They are coming up on that. If you see that the Mr. Abhijit Vinayak Banerjee done the study, and Murshidabad, he told me in the 1 year before, he said me that Mr. Ghosh, I visited after the 10 years of that Sangita lady. 4-storied building she have been developed. Wasn't a nobody have been coming forward to give a 1 rupee for the food. So now they are taking the 3 million a day. So this is the way it can be possible. And we have the NRLM program, rural development, different program that can be tie up. I ensure one part on that. These people will be not full of their life asking the NREGA money. NREGA money may be the 1 year, 2 year, 3 years, but they will not ask the full life of them. So that is the confidence they build up on that. And they are very happy to say that I am not begging. I am not going to anywhere to asking anything. I am self-reliant now. So this type of program, if we can be like to escalate in the total country, I hope that that is the best way we can be alleviate the poverty in the ground level. And whatever the initiative taken by our the JEEViKA, I hope that this is a good tie-up happened with us. I can give the another thing on that. What is the success point in here? Success is a staff capacity. And you need to build up the staff who can like it. And we are recruited that staff from the poor family, and we have developed their mind how they can be like them to work on that, their motivation level, their dedication, and their capacity to learn from this type of people, and accordingly they can be give some of the suggestion on that. That is a way, so that I feel that the success of this program has need to focus on that, to stop selection, stop training, and continuously refreshers to motivate that you are helping to develop the poor people, don't ask the money of them. That is maybe helped more on that. We are partly also say that we are very happy with the Bihar government. We have been tied up in the technical support with the SJY program, JEEViKA Rural Development Department, Government of Bihar. We have started the work with them from 2017, and 2018 we have the new program have been inaugurated by the government, that is called the SJY. And I know that the MOU have been signed with the Bandhan Bank in the June 2019, and as a technical assistant agency. It means in that we are not in only technically support on that. We feel that this program is our owning. If we not feel ownership, this program success will not come. I hope that this model can be like to expand the total country. I like to thank you to all of you to given this chance. And this is a COVID situation, so I am not like to invite all of you to come to field to visit and see it. But after the COVID situation, when the normalization will come, I request all of you to come to visit them, talk with these people. Then you can feel, I confidence on that, you can feel about it, how they change the life of the people. And people's life change not only the money, people life change has come with a small face, and they are also coming forward to help to the others. Thank you, madam, for giving this opportunity.
Thank you, sir. That was very interesting, completely enthralling your journey in this program, and how you have evolved the whole strategy, and how you have brought smiles on the faces of so many women. So congratulations for that, sir. And you also suggested that that this program depends, the success of the program depends very greatly on the staff capacity, on how they are trained and how they are able to understand and empathize and dedicatedly work for these people. And also I completely echo your hope that this program should be taken all across the country very soon through NRLM maybe. So thank you very much. This completes the talk by all our panelists. It's been really great. Mahua, do we have any more questions for the panelists?
This is Balamurugan. If the moderator permits, I'm not going to talk. I wanted to convey our thanks to you and all the panel members, Gayatri and then Ghost, Vinay and Alka madam. In spite of busy schedule, she came and then spoke to us. And more than almost close to 1,000 JEEViKA staff and then employees are watching this program, either through YouTube channel or in one connection. There are five, six people watching, and then even in our JEEViKA office, we have put up a big screen and then people are watching it. It's just, we have taken note of all the input suggestions, and then we are thankful again for taking time out and speaking to us. Over to you again, ma'am. I'm sorry for this brief.
No, thank you, Mr. Balamurugan. That was nice. It's good to see you on this show again. So, Mahua, do we have any more questions for the panelists?
Most of the questions have already been answered. Just one question, like how to make sure hand-holding doesn't result in micromanagement.
Very good question on that. We are first given the motivation to the beneficiaries. One thing you can be accept first. My people when you go to your family, you will be understand they are your family members, and you cannot deny them to share anything. If they do anything on behalf of you, you should be accept on that. So they will be make in such a way where the every of the 50 families have the one staff work with them. So that it is going such a way work on that. So they are even sometimes either 2-3 times in a week, and their mobile number of the staff have with the beneficiaries. If they have been feel immediately something need, they are immediately call, my staff will go there. And some help have been missed on that. They have that the cash book and ledger book, and everything have been written beginning by the staff, and after a few days they are teaches them and they are written on that. So if you see that book, the beginning their signature, we are teaches them the signature, they are counting the note and calculate that things, that also we are hand holding way have been developed on that.
Thank you, sir. And just to add to that, I think under NRLM also, we always have this training given to all the staff, and this is very strongly instilled in every staff member that we are not there to micromanage things for the households. We are there to facilitate their work, but not lead them. We believe in the what we call the innate wisdom of the rural poor households, that they know where they have to go and what they have to do. We only need to facilitate access to resources, some capacity building, skill building, etc. So definitely that is something NRLM and of course SJY also will be very wary of, is that we do not want to get into micromanagement.
I just to add one point of that, they are staff is going with them to the market. They purchase the goods, whatever their asset, but my staff will be facilitated with them. And when they come to the home, how they write in the book. So this way, how much have been sold in the last week, all things have been written in the book. That is the hand-holding part on that. And sometimes guided on that, how long they will be like to go to village to sell these goods. And this way is a hand-holding. And hand-holding means also inspiration to them. Don't worry. Income is coming, not one day will become everything. So that is the way I have been mentioned about the mentoring support, coaching, like that. And they accept in a very well.
So thank you, sir. So I think if there are no more questions, and if any of the panelists want to make any last remarks, we welcome. Otherwise, I'll try to wrap up this session.
One quick comment from me, if I may. This is Gayatri.
Yes, please.
I thought that the history that Mr. Ghosh presented was absolutely riveting, and I really appreciate hearing that. And one point that he made, which I really think cannot be understated, is to invest in staff capacity as well, right? To be constantly learning on the job and be reminded of our original motivation, which is to help people move out of the conditions that they are in and to aspire to be in better conditions with greater opportunities. So I really wanted to express my appreciation and underline that important point of continuous improvements of staff capacity as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Gayatri. Vinay, any last remarks from you?
No, just to thank JEEViKA for inviting me and wishing all the best. And I think just to again say, learning is the key as we go forward. Thanks, Neeta.
I think Alka ma'am has probably left. So, Mr. Ghosh, any last remarks?
Last thing I said, thank you to all of you, but I can be request one to you. How quick we can be scale up total country. It is my request on that your level you can be accelerated on that. Thank you.
We'll definitely try doing that. Just to wrap up, I think we all agree that this is a tremendous initiative that has been initiated by by government of Bihar, and as pointed out by many speakers, it is probably the most talked about intervention right now in the development sector. To do this kind of intervention on such scale, and definitely in MORD we are looking forward to the results here, and to get the learnings, and then take it forward through NRLM to the other states. So also, so all the speakers have said that because NRLM has these very effective and efficient institutions already created, and there are so many strategies already put in place, and so much of social capital created, that it really makes sense for this program to be integrated eventually with the mainstream institutions, the beneficiaries to be brought into the mainstream institutions, so that they can access all the benefits of the different interventions that are going through these community institutions. And very nicely, I think Vinay has given us very specific points on what to do, what are the important roles for different agencies, and how to do it. And just to reiterate, he has pointed out that the village organizations and the MRPs have a very important role, and how we manage the program very efficiently. So what he said was, how do we marry the organic nature with efficiency, so that we have a very nimble system which responds very fast, because we cannot keep these people waiting for any of the benefits that are flowing to them. And he talked about having some village organizations that can be brought up as model, kind of, that can be best practice sites, and then the use of data, the data that is being generated through the applications created. How do we analyze the data, and how do we feed back the learning into the program? So and of course, Mr. Ghosh has pointed out to the capacity building of the staff, and how we should actually try to bring in the staff from that community or that part of the society where they themselves are able to empathize and understand the suffering of the poor, and are able to work with dedication, and they need to be provided continuous motivation also. So I think it was a very good discussion, and very interesting. And I will conclude by congratulating again Government of Bihar and BRLPS for this extremely important initiative. I have been associated with it right from the beginning. I was there at the launch of the event by the Honorable Chief Minister, and I'm very invested in this, in the sense that I really want to see what comes out from this, and I've already had discussions with the team to understand the interventions and to get the learnings. And we'll definitely, sir, as Mr. Ghosh said, we'll definitely try to see that we take it forward through NRLM to all the other states also. So thank you very much. I thank all the panelists. I thank the organizers. Thank you, Mahua, for supporting me. And we close with that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you, madam.
Thank you, ma'am. Just another announcement that we are going to have the next session tomorrow at 11 o'clock. And this session is on diversification and intensification of livelihoods assistance packages for the ultra poor. We start at 11 a.m. tomorrow. Thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you to all the panelists. Thank you.
चलो हो गया क्या? स्टॉप कर देना।